picture an elf forest, and that's Finland. One thing that really surprised me was in the summertime, there's bushes that just surround the forest path that are loaded with blueberries and raspberries and strawberries, and they just grow there. And you can eat as much as you want. Another thing that really surprised me about Finland is their love of mushrooms. Finns love mushrooms. Not all Finns, but a lot of them. And when I left, I don't really like mushrooms, but I like Finnish mushrooms. And they make delicious casseroles and different meals with mushrooms that they pick themselves. They'll go out to the woods and just pick mushrooms, and they're delicious. And it's a popular hobby in Finland to go mushroom picking and also berry picking.
So winter, -36 below zero, out on a bike in the north of Finland. I had tears freeze to my cheeks. My eye froze shut one time. It was pretty intense. So like I was riding a bike and the sun was out. I mean, it's kind of interesting. The sun was out and I was just like closing my eye because the sun was, and like we're riding down a hill and like my eyes watering because it's so cold, and just like my eyelashes froze together. And so I was kind of like this and riding my bike, and I was like trying to open up my eye again. It didn't work. And I finally got down to like this little area where we usually stashed our bikes to go contacting. We went into the mall, just this little like shopping center, and I was just like, I gotta just like, and I didn't want to pull out my eyelashes, and it was just kind of extreme. That was probably the coldest it had ever been, and it was cold. Another thing too on New Year's that they do is they heat up, like, I think it's tin on like a stove, and they give you like this little piece of tin, and you heat it up on the stove until it's like liquid, and then you throw it into a bucket, like a sauna bucket, like full of ice water. And so you heat it up and you throw it in, and then you take it out and you hold it up and you put a light behind it, and then it's supposed to show you like what the next year is going to be like. So I think I only did it 1 year, but I think I had like, mine looked like a chicken, so I can't remember what we decided on that I was going to eat a lot of chicken, or that maybe I was a chicken. I'm not sure exactly, but it was just a lot of fun, and you can kind of just joke around. Momumani moni momamani momamani moni mon. So that means like, my grandmother gave birth to my mother, and my mother gave birth to me, but I think munia is like to lay eggs or something. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but mumani moni mumamani mumamani moni mon.
This bonfire was maybe 10 or 12 foot high stack of wooden shipping crates or pallets, and they had leaned maybe 5 or 6 old wooden fishing boats kind of up against this crate pile. So it almost looked like a wooden Christmas tree or something. And the fire department was there, and they were set up on this little jetty that had jutted out into this lake. But they doused it with gasoline, and they light it up and let it blaze. And that's how they celebrate the longest day of the year. Just a bunch of pyromaniacs letting loose.
I went to one of my friends' Mickey's, which is like their summer cottage, and he had a wood-burning sauna, and it was really fun. I was with my brother, and we just like got to be in the sauna, and then we would go and we'd jump in the freezing cold lake. It was so cold, but that's what they do in Finland. They'll be in the sauna and then run and jump in the lake, so we did that like 2 or 3 times. He even had shampoo and conditioner in the sauna, so it was really fun. After our hair was wet, we put some shampoo in it, and then we ran back to the lake and jumped in and washed it out. And it was cool to get to experience that part of the Finnish culture.
They have a lot of ski jumps, like what they'll do in the Olympics, those crazy guys that'll go jump, 130, 140 feet. There was a guy from the city of Lahti that won a couple medals in the Olympics a few years in a row. He's considered one of the greatest ski jumpers of all time. And they still in most cities have active ski jumps. So I remember going out and watching him do that a few times, and that was insane. That was really a neat experience. I saw a guy crash too, but he was okay. He walked away from it. But I always thought that was just insane. One thing that everybody's going to hear is that the language is hard. And it is. There's like really no way around that. There's 19 cases for verbs. There's like 6 different conjugations. I read once in a book that there's 5,200 different derivatives of every verb, which really makes it a memorization game. I mean, it's pretty bad in that sense. But I remember in the airport, we were at baggage claim, and there was a mom talking to her little kid, and she was like, babbling in baby talk, like the most simple Finnish, and I had no idea what she was saying. So just none. I was completely clueless. So the language is like the first weird thing about being in a foreign place. You walk down the street and nobody is speaking English, but people are just carrying on like everything's completely normal, and it's really, really weird. The pizza's awesome because it's not like American pizza. It's very European, really thin crust, tons of toppings. I've had everything from like every type of fruit imaginable on a pizza, whether it's pineapple, mango, cherries, lingonberries, to something as strange as reindeer meat. I have had a reindeer meat pizza.
I was in Hyvinkää, and it must have been late February or early March or something, and we were just coming home from knocking on some doors, and it had been a kind of average day, I think. We were in a good mood for all intent and purpose, and we had just walked inside our building, right? And just as we had turned the corner to start walking up the stairs, the elevator door swings open, and this Finnish lady walks out, wearing all red, right? Mind you, red shoes, pants, coat, gloves, scarf, hat, like Santa Claus, basically, right? Or Mrs. Santa Claus, right? And she looks at us and says, "Boys," or "Pojat," in Finnish, and we've stopped. We turn back to her, and a lot of missionaries get to know their neighbors, chat here and there. We don't always get to be too friendly with them, but we say hi as we pass and whatnot. But I don't think we'd ever gotten to know her. I didn't even know who she was. But she stops us, and she looks at us and says, "What are you doing?" And we say, "Oh, we're just getting home. We were out talking to people about Jesus. You want to hear about him?" And she's like, "Oh, no, I know everything about Jesus." And we're like, "Oh, okay, all right. You sure?" She says, "Oh, I'm positive. Oh, yeah. No need. Thanks, but no need." And we say, "Okay, well, can we do anything for you?" And she says, "As a matter of fact, you can. I want to sing to you." And we say, like, "Sorry, what?" She says, "Yeah, I want to sing to you. Can I sing a song?" And we just say, "Yeah, sure. Please, like, sing." And she says, "Okay." And she just kind of like gathers her senses, She just like stops and like looks up and breathes and like big breath in, big breath out, like she's preparing to sing like at the opera or something. And she looks at us just like dead in the eyes and says, "Here we go." And belts out this song that the only word I could recognize in the song was the word red, just punainen. And we don't know what she's saying. At the top of her lungs, mind you, in the middle of our building. And like a lot of, for example, the doors in Finland in buildings like that are solid wood, but you can still hear through them. You can hear through the cracks in the doors, and walls sometimes are thin. And so I imagine the whole building had to have heard. And I mean, she sang for a solid 30 seconds or something. And it was just the most weird, like, inexplainable situation where my companion and I were both so uncomfortable and awkward that we didn't even know what to do. And so we just kind of sat there as it happened and became like victims of her inebriated or drunken way of singing, I guess, because she was definitely drunk. We could smell the alcohol in her breath. But anyway, she finishes and she looks at us and says, "Well, how did I do?" And we said, "You sounded so good. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day." She says, "Thanks, boys. You too." And walks out the door. And that was it.
So we walked past one door that said, "Surveillance cameras in use. Violators will be shot," or something like that. And I was like, I haven't seen a sign like that since I was in America. And my companion thought it was funny to just turn and like wave at the camera that we could obviously see, but we thought the camera was either fake or that the person was not really going to watch it. And we walked past that door. She smiled and waved. We walked past it and go to the other door, and we knock on that one, and we're waiting. And this first door cracks open, and I look over, and the first thing I see is a pistol. Just like poking out of the door, and then a face behind the pistol. And then the guy says in Finnish, "What are you doing?" And we were like, "Oh, we're just knocking on this door here." And he's like, "Nobody lives there." And we're like, "Oh, good info. We're gonna leave now." And he was like, "Okay, good." And then like brings the gun back in and like pulls his face back and shuts the door. And me and my companion looked at each other and we just, what just happened? I have one favorite story about Finnish history, and I don't know if I know all of the details, but I'm going to tell it anyway because it's my favorite. So Finland has been in a lot of wars. It was owned by Sweden for a very long time, then Russia, then got its independence in 1917, which means that Finland is a little bit over 100 years old. And one of my favorite stories is of a time when they were fighting for their independence against Russia. And at this time, the Russian army had more people in it than the population of Finland. That's what they were up against. And Russia was rapidly approaching the capital city, and it started to look like all was lost. The president of Finland got on the radio and did a nationwide broadcast. And he gave a speech kind of trying to rouse the Finnish. Sisu is a Finnish word that means like bravery, courage, having the right stuff. So he's trying to rouse the Finnish Sisu. And then my favorite part of the story, his wife gets on the radio to do her part of the speech. And what she asks them to do is to pray as a country. And she says, "Everybody kneel down right now. We're going to say a prayer for our country." And I've spoken to people who were alive when this happened. One of them was in a grocery store listening to the radio announcement because they didn't own a radio. And she told me that everybody in the grocery store immediately knelt down and began to pray. People knelt in their homes. They got out of their cars. They knelt in the grocery store. They knelt wherever they were. And as a country, Finland asked God to deliver them. And the fascinating thing is that when you look at Finnish history, it was almost like that was a turning point in the war. After that happened, there started to be all of these crazy, off-the-wall miracle ideas, like sniping people while skiing and hiding bombers in roads so that the tanks would drive over them. They would detonate the bomb. Then the bomber would get up and walk away totally fine. All of these ideas that allowed them to, as a very small group of people, take on a very large army. And when they did that, eventually, Finland won, and they have their independence today. And the people that I know who were there in that moment when they prayed, because the president's wife, Kaisa, asked them to, attribute that to that moment.